All right, next, Russell Westbrook is last in the NBA in three-point shooting at just 23%. On the bright side, the Rockets are 14-1 in games when Westbrook attempts fewer than 5 threes. So there seems to be an obvious correlation here. Westbrook's effective shooting percentage on jumpers is 36.4%. That's the worst in the NBA. For those not familiar, three-point shots or makes are weighted more heavily in this formula. So, Ramona, is Westbrook's shot selection the key to Houston's success?
I don't know if I'm going to call it shot selection, but when Houston is playing better, it's when Russ is in attack mode. There's a lot of different ways to put the defense on its heels. Sometimes they have to respect you as a shooter, they have to chase you, that creates space. But when he's attacking, he's got some of the best burst and explosiveness in the league. That's all they really need him to do. And he knows that, they know that. They just need to find positions to put him in where the defense has to react to him in favorable ways for them and not unfavorable ways where they just essentially don't guard him from out behind the three-point line.
This is what's a little bit concerning about this. What's going to happen in a playoff setting when we already have seen, Zach Lowe has written about this, about how teams are double-teaming James Harden, and it's having some success. I don't know if teams are going to guard Russell Westbrook. They're just not going to guard him.
Yeah.
And they're going to. And now this could set the stage for heroism. I mean, he could be the hero of some playoff games where they don't guard him. But I wonder, we can crunch all these numbers.
Yeah.
I always think of it in a playoff setting. One of the reasons the Rockets are as successful as they've been is because they put efficient players around James Harden. Mm-hmm. We're talking about how he's not being efficient. I'm not criticizing him as a person. I'm talking about him as he fits into the team.
Right.
Well, Brian, in a lot of ways, I think they've adjusted, at least recently, by staggering their minutes even more. And so you have a situation, because when you play Harden and Westbrook together, they do exactly what Zach wrote about, which is they just double Harden. Like, they don't guard Russ. And James is getting picked up very high near the half-court line, and that's a different defense for him to contend with altogether.
But so staggering loses its value in the postseason when the stars play more minutes. And also, what's D'Antoni going to do if he's got big possessions where he needs space? What's he going to do?
Yep. Well, shouldn't you put the ball in Russ's hands in that situation? And at least you can.
Good luck.
I'm saying, I'd rather have the ball in Russ's hands in general because James is a better shooter, right?
Correct. But then you get back to the decision-making issue where I would definitely want the ball in James Harden's hands in terms of turnovers and correct decision-making in that offense.
The thing about it is when we had the star coupling this summer, LeBron and Anthony Davis made a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Kawhi and Paul George made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Kyrie and Kevin Durant made a lot of sense. The Harden-Westbrook coupling was sort of a marriage of convenience or maybe even desperation.
Right.
Yeah.
They both really needed help, and it's not a great fit, and they're working hard at it.
Yeah.
They really want to make it work. I don't know. At the end of the day, they're just not quite a fit.
I do think the shot selection, though, is a thing, because this was an issue last season, I thought, in Oklahoma City, too. I almost feel like we're having deja vu, like we might have even done a segment about this last season in Oklahoma City. What I think Russ needs to do, because, yes, he wants to be in attack mode. He still can finish in that regard. But what he needs to do is evolve into kind of the old man game, right? Dwayne Wade, Kobe, those kind of guys, when they started losing a little bit of their athleticism, they developed kind of this I'm cutting to the basket, in between game, mid-range, things like that. I know that's not necessarily in vogue, but in the postseason, that might be something that makes some sense.
It's also just completely anathema to the way Mike D'Antoni's teams play.
Oh, sure,
right?
I get that.
I mean, it's just
I get it. But if you're going to have him on your roster, I think everyone needs to potentially evolve if this is going to be a success.
Yeah.
All right, trade rumors and talks of a full rebuild have been floating around the Pistons this past week with Andre Drummond at the center of it all. He has a player option next year, but will likely become an unrestricted free agent. So when asked if he wants to stay in Detroit, here's what Drummond said.
I'm not a quitter. Not for one. Never brought up to be a quitter. So if I start somewhere, I try to finish there, try to complete the mission, which is to win a championship here. So it'll never be me that wants to go anywhere. So I can write that now. So I love being here. I would love to play the rest of my career. Just stay in the course. That's really it.
Brian, what do you think? What should they do?
So their owner, Tom Gores, gave an interview during a game last week. It was actually here in L.A., where he basically opened the door. I mean, he didn't say it specifically, but if you were paying attention, he basically opened the door to the fact that they're going to have to potentially make some changes. There is a report out there today that I think from Yahoo that Blake Griffin is potentially facing season-ending surgery. The thing with Andre Drummond that's difficult is he's got a player option. for $28 million. We've all assumed that he would opt out of that contract because everybody wants to be a free agent. If you're going to trade for him, you would really like to have clarity about that contract. And if you don't want him to opt into it, you may, if you're going to give up a draft pick or something, you may want to negotiate an extension because you don't want to necessarily get a rental player. So the Pistons have to make a decision about where they're going as an organization. They have to try to find a trade for Andre Drummond. And then Andre Drummond would have to work out some sort of understanding with his new team, most likely both either on his option or what they're going to do going forward. What that means is a lot of steps that have to get done before this could get traded. So this is a multi-layer situation.
Well, and if you're trading a player that is a potentially foundational piece for your organization, right? When the Pistons traded for Blake Griffin, the idea was we got to get back to the playoffs. We have two guys now that can do that for us. It meant a lot to the Pistons last year to get into the playoffs. Blake Griffin played hurt during the playoffs, and I know he had a surgery afterwards, but who knows what the damage was done with Blake Griffin playing hurt in the playoffs on that left knee, because he clearly hasn't been the same. So they have to decide. Do we want to run this back? Because if you keep Andre Drummond on your roster, you're probably going to sign him, what do you think, 4 years, $100 million, 4 years, 5 years?
I don't know what his value is in this market.
In this market, there's not a lot of great free agents out there, and the teams that have money to spend don't necessarily want to tie that money up right now in free agents or come out of
or in centers.
Or in centers. And so I think if you're Detroit, you're keeping him with the idea that it's not just keeping him, but you're probably going to have to pay him this summer. And you have to decide on.
I think they just need to hit the reset button at this point. If Drummond is a favorite of Gore's, right?
Yeah.
So for him to say that publicly means something, I think. So if you're going to get rid of Drummond, in theory, then you might as well get rid of everybody. Try to trade Derrick Rose, and play the young guys. Play Brown, play Doumbouya, play Svi, all these kids, and rebuild.
Sekou Doumbouya has played a lot in the last week and has shown some flashes.
Yeah.
Probably exciting for them.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For highlights and analysis, check out the ESPN app. And for live streaming and premium content, check out ESPN+.